Okay, I think it's a good time to start. So, no, Daisy told me to do it in English. So, I'm going to make it in English. Maybe some places it's going to be in Spanish. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so well, today it's basically, well, I'm a marketing professor. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Ignacio Gafo, and as you know, this is a demo, right, about how to teach in a hybrid classroom. So today's topic is going to be about how to launch, in this case, a smartphone, okay, a new Motorola device. Again, it's going to be an excuse to go through basically how to teach, how to adapt your teaching when you go through a hybrid classroom. Before I forget, okay, I'm not going to read the chat. As I mentioned before, you're okay to write down in the chat if you like, but please pay attention. I'm not going to read the chat. If you want to speak up, I would say yes, raise your hand, or in my case, it's also fine if you want to step in. Okay, you don't have to raise your hand. Do it the way you like. Okay, if you feel more comfortable with that, okay, that's okay. Just a disclosure before we start. Okay, I think we are. In my case, I have given maybe 10 classes already in the hybrid classroom, but still, I could definitely not say I'm an expert in this. This is work in progress for all of us, and basically what I'm going to do is share with you my experience teaching things that worked for me, things that didn't work. Okay, but I insist that this is a kind of a work in progress approach. Okay, we have big bosses around. Go ahead, Cookie. So we have two area directors. So let me welcome Cookie. Let me welcome Teresa. Thank you for joining us, and also thank you for joining Daisy. And Isabel, I guess you are also there, okay? So if you get any questions about the session, please tell them I've done a great job, okay? Because they are here. The key thing anyway about the hybrid classroom, okay? And that's going to be, if I have to pass on one message is, this requires a lot of training, a lot. And the only way you are going to learn, you're going to master this is by going through sessions and sessions and sessions. As you know, we have put together a lot of training. Okay, so you have a lot of tutorials about Zoom, etc. That should be the starting point. Okay, before you jump into anything, you need to master the Zoom tool. You need to get familiarized with that, and you have tutorials. Second thing I would strongly recommend is you need to attend these sessions. Okay, this is one of many sessions we are delivering where you can see basically how it works. This is going to give you a nice overall picture, a nice overall idea about how it works. But the real training, based on my own experiences, when you go hands-on. I mean, you need to go to a class and you need to try it out. In this regard, as you know, we have a demo class, okay, which is going to be open 8 hours per day, and you can schedule and you can go. So my strong recommendation is spend a lot of time in that classroom trying this out. Okay, that's the only way you're gonna master this. And probably if you don't do that, what's going to happen is you're going to learn in class, which I strongly not recommend. No. So bear with me. This is a question of practice. Okay. So yes, today you're going to get a very good idea, or probably a good idea about how it works. But again, what's going to work for you is go hands-on. So I encourage all of you to go to this demo classroom and try it out by yourself. The objective of today's session, as I mentioned before, is basically that you understand the dynamics involved in a hybrid classroom, and you will see you need to do a lot of adaptations over a traditional class, and also you have to do a lot of adaptations over a traditional video conference. Okay, it's something in between, and you have to adapt. It has pros and cons, as you will see. This is pretty much the objective. Before we move into the class, okay, I thought it would be useful to share with you things that you should consider, okay, for planning right before the class and during the class, okay? So, by the way, some of you have also some experience, so please feel free to step in any moment. So the first thing you may want to do is you may want to bring a laptop or you want to bring a tablet, okay? So as you can see here, what I have in front of me is a tablet. I could also use my PC. Why? Because if I want to check, okay, hands raised, okay, this is gonna be very useful. If not, I'm gonna do it something like this all the time. Okay, probably today is gonna be easier because I only have 2 people attending a physical class, but when this is packed and you have people online, from my experience, it's not an easy one. So any support that you can get is gonna avoid you turning back, and that's gonna be extremely helpful, okay? So as I said, can be a tablet, can be a PC, okay, and that's gonna be extremely useful. Second thing you're gonna need is you need a pencil to write down on the screens, okay? So it could be the pencil you have in class, or you can bring your own pencil if you have a tablet, whatever, but you need something with you. If you're gonna work with groups, if you're gonna do breakouts, and we have another session later to speak about that, it's very, very important the groups needs to be created before the class. Okay, so all the settings needs to be done before, okay? You're gonna be the host, you can do it, but that should be done before. And exactly the same thing with your hands. Antonio, I think you raised your hand, right?
Yes, someone wrote in the chat that there's a problem with sound. So since you don't check the chat, I thought to let you know.
Okay, you cannot listen to me, Antonio?
No, I can listen to you, but there is in the chat, Sondo said that the audio stopped, so I'm just checking.
Okay. If you don't listen to me, please speak up directly, okay? Don't wait for... Okay, you have to silence the PC cookie as well, okay, just in case. Okay, that's important. No? So maybe it's a problem we were having, and again, this is learning process, is maybe some people in class have the audio on, okay, and that could be creating some echo. So something you have to make sure, no, it doesn't matter. Something you have to check is that everybody in class is muted, no? As I said, the polls have to be created in advance. If you're gonna share any video, okay, from the web, that should be already uploaded. So you just go to the browser and click it, okay, that's something you have to do. Something I strongly recommend as well is, as long as you're going to use the PC in class, make sure you have a digital copy about what you're doing. Okay, we usually bring a pen drive, but my recommendation, and that's what I do, is I get everything uploaded in a digital format. In my case, I use a Google Drive, but you have different options, so that in case the pen drive, etc., doesn't work, you can download very quickly. Something very, very important, and you will see in a second, what do I mean is, you really have you need a very, very clear teaching plan. I know all of us may have this, but the teaching plan needs to be adapted to this format, okay? And I will show you in a second how I do it, okay? But this is something you have to bear in mind. You know what's gonna be your teaching plan, how does it work? Something that you could do, I'm not gonna do it, but I know other universities are doing, okay? And actually some professors might consider it for here, is to ask someone in class, okay, to support you with the chat or with the hand raised, okay? Again, it's up to each professor. So I might say, Teresa, please help me with checking out the chat or checking out the hand raised. I don't like it because I like controlling more the participation, okay? Because probably the person you are asking for support doesn't know when to step in or not. Okay, but that's something that some people do. Okay, so you ask someone in class, hey, check for me the chat, or let me know when someone is raising the hand. If you're okay with that, just for you to know, some people go with that. Probably something that if you're not sure about this, you need to try out a bit. Okay, so you may want to check it out in one of the classes, see how it works for you, and then you decide, no? And of course, you may want to consider introducing other tools like Kahoot, etc. It works fine. I'm not going to use it, but that's something you could use. And also something very important you need to consider, you will see today in classes, you cannot cover as much as content as you could do in a traditional class. This is extremely important. Roughly, just to give you an indication, I would say you can cover up to 70%. Okay, so you need to reduce significantly what you're going to cover. You need to stick to the core. Okay, that's something that is extremely important. Okay, and this is for the preparation. Here you have basically the outline I'm going to use for the class. Okay, and again, this is how it works for me. You pick up whatever works for you. As you can see, all my teaching plan is incorporated in the PowerPoint. Okay, so my main tool is going to be the PowerPoint. I feel comfortable with that. because I need to work with this screen, okay? So as you can see, I have different colors, okay? And the colors mean different things. So for instance, this green here means polls, okay? So when I see a green stuff, it means I have to go through the polls, or I have things like open questions, which is gonna be this blue, or I have some white screens. This means basically I want to do some kind of Q&A, okay? I'm gonna write down in the whiteboard, you know? And also I have some videos, etc. But as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm planning ahead how I'm gonna conduct the class. Again, you have to find your own way. This is basically what I'm gonna use. And actually, if you check it out, the class in the end, this is exactly what I'm gonna do. You see, so everything has to be very well planned in advance. Okay, that's something that is gonna work fine. At the very beginning of the class, my recommendation would be try to come to class if possible, 20 minutes before. I know sometimes it's impossible because you have to jump from one session to another. Actually, I have to jump at 11:30 to another session, so probably it's not realistic, but if you can, especially at the beginning, try to go before, okay? Because you need to check out quite a few things, you know? You may want to check the audio or the PowerPoint or etc. These are things you need to do. At the very beginning of the class, I think it's important that you explain to students how you're gonna work. Okay, in our case at IE, we decided we are not gonna impose a standard, so professors are gonna have some freedom. For instance, in my class, I'm gonna ask that I'm not gonna ask the,
Something is wrong with the camera.
sorry?
Something is wrong with the camera.
Fine.
At the back.
No.
No?
No, it's okay. This one's cookie.
You don't know?
Well, I have double access because I'm sitting here.
Okay.
Yeah, but in this case, you have to explain to students, okay, am I gonna use the chat or I'm not gonna use the chat? In my case, as I told you, I'm not gonna use the chat, but you need to make it clear to students how it's gonna work, okay? If you're gonna use someone supporting you, okay, you need to specify, hey, this person is gonna help me out with that, huh? And also you have to be very clear with people about, hey, how do I want you to participate? Do I want you to raise your hand? Do I want you to step in any moment? In my case, as I said, both are fine to me. Okay, so if you want to speak, raise your hand or step in, whatever you want is gonna be fine. And also, I would say, it's interesting, you may want to say, okay, I'm gonna do cold calling or not. I strongly recommend to do cold calling. And I don't do it normally. I mean, in my regular classes, I never do it. From my experience in the hybrid classroom, especially with people connecting online, I think it's extremely important. Something I forgot.
Hay una pregunta importante.
Yes.
¿Va a ser obligatorio para los alumnos tener la cámara encendida? Es fundamental.
Okay. Okay. So yes, that's another big point that we may want to discuss.
Nadie me
Which is,
obliga. Repite la pregunta porque lo tengo en silencio.
yeah, the question that Teresa was asking me, is it compulsory for students to turn on the camera or not? I don't think it's 100% closed, but we strongly recommend that you request the students to do that. Okay, people in class, people not in class. So actually, really up to you. But if you were regular students, I would tell you, everybody has to turn on the camera. I think it's very, very important. Because if not,
I mean, the thing is that, is it compulsory? Because otherwise, in my professors, en la experiencia de mis profesores, el 90% de los MIM tenían la cámara cerrada.
Okay.
90.
I think we have to, it's not closed 100%, Teresa, so we don't have a guidance on this one. I strongly recommend that you request the students to do that.
Pero por programa, la política se está hablando de imponerlo, por ejemplo, a nivel grado lo vamos a imponer como obligatorio.
Okay, then it's work in progress, it's not closed. For me, MIMBA part-time is not closed, that's one I can tell. Okay, if you get instruction from the program, that's fine, but it's not closed as an institutional level. Still, I strongly recommend that you ask for that, okay? Because if not, you don't know what's going on the other side, no? And again, something you may want to check is that the audio, the screen, everything is working fine, okay? That's at the very beginning of the class. And during the class, okay, again, if you're not using the chat, you don't have to check it. If you're using the chat, make sure you are doing that. Something which is not so easy from my experience is you have to realize that the main camera is there. So you have to look at that camera, not here, okay? Because you tend naturally to look there, but the camera is there. And obviously you have to try to balance the participation between people in the physical class and people connecting remotely. In this class, I only have 3 people. Everything fine. I only have 3 people in the physical class, okay? That's why you guys online are going to speak more, but you need to find the balance. And also something you may want to do is when you are sharing the screen, okay, you need to click and you're sharing a video. There are two buttons here, you see, that actually they're clicked, and I should unclick because it's going to create some distortion with the noise, with the image, etc. Okay, so that's something you want to do. Okay, anyway, let's now move into the case. Okay, so the first thing I could do is to clarify the working rules, etc., which I've done. I'm not going to use the poll. Okay, please raise your hand if you want to speak. Please step in any moment if you want to participate. In this case, we're going to speak, as I mentioned, about a product launch, a smartphone launch. Okay, and the first thing I want to do is to speak about the smartphone penetration in Spain. We're going to speak about the product launch in Spain. Okay, so now I'm going to do, what I have done is to open a poll. Okay, so please take your vote. What is the expected smartphone penetration in Spain in 2021? 100%, 85%, 73%, 65%, 50%. What do you think? What's your guess? Okay, a couple seconds more so that everybody can vote. Okay, now I end the polling and share results. And there you have. Okay, so as you can see, most of you think it's going to be 100%. The SIM penetration, the SIM card penetration right now in Spain, that's very interesting, is 130%. You may claim why? Well, because people have more than one phone. Okay, that's a reality. The expected one for smartphones is close to 85%. Okay, so smartphones is becoming, as you can see, the mainstream here. Pilar, you raise your hand. Go ahead, please.
Nacho, ¿no estás compartiendo pantalla?
Estoy compartiendo pantalla, yes.
Ah, pues es que no veo la presentación, no sé por qué.
Okay, other people can check it. Piluca, I don't know.
Vale, no te preocupes, ahora miro qué pasa. Gracias.
Vemos la clase, pero no vemos la presentación en, al menos
es que
yo.
no la vemos, Nacho, no la vemos ninguno.
I'm going to share again. Can you see again? Can you see now?
Ahora sí. Perfecto, gracias.
These are the kind of things you have to make sure that everybody's going to accept it, no?
No han visto lo de los clics del vídeo, para eso, ¿eh?
Okay. As I said, well, something you could see is basically, as you can see, when I do sharing, I have 2 options here, which is sharing the sound and optimizing the screen size. You have to unclick, okay, if you're not going to use a video, okay, because it creates a distortion. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and remind me if I don't, okay, when I share a video, I need to go back to this and unshare it, okay? Anyway, that was the first one, the first poll I wanted to share with you. Let me go to a second one, which is, I'm going to check with you the prices. We have 4 different things. So if you took the prices, okay, the highest price you may have for a smartphone in Spain, which one would you say? Is it 2,500? Is it 1,700? Is it 1,500, 1,300, or 1,000 euros? What would you say? Which one would you say is the right one? Okay, a couple of seconds more. Okay, so as you can see, it's very interesting. Now, so the most expensive phone you can find in Spain is costing you 2,500 euros. Okay, with full configuration. That's the highest price you may get. Okay, let me close this one. We go to another one, another poll. Results. What is the brand of that phone? Is it Oppo, Huawei, Apple, Samsung, Motorola, or LG? Which brand would you say? Who's selling the most expensive smartphone in Spain out of this? Okay. Give me a couple seconds more so that everybody can vote. Okay. So most of you think it's Apple, and that's wrong. Okay. The most expensive smartphone from selling in Spain is from Samsung. Actually, the most expensive one from Apple, I think it's close to 1,500 with full configuration. But anyway, that's very, very interesting, no? Because we may have a perception which is not adjusted to reality. Anyway, let me go back in time, okay? Let me go back 10 years. Who had, well, you know this phone, right? This is the Motorola V3. It was a very, very well-known phone. You know, it was a category leader at that point. Who had this phone? Raise your hand if you had this phone many years ago, maybe 10 years ago. Raise your hand. Okay, quite a few people. Okay, Alfonso, how was your experience with this phone?
It was very good. I mean, I think I hardly remember how it worked, but I think it was very complete. And you know, if it was not this specific model, was something very similar and was cool at the time.
Excellent.
No se oye nada, ¿eh?
Yeah. Pierre, what do you think? What was your experience?
Well, it was a fantastic phone. I think that I even gave it to my wife's mom. So and it still works.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you, Antonio. How about you?
Antonio González, you mean, Nacho?
Yeah, Antonio González, yes.
Well, for me, it was a nice to have. So some of my friends got it, but for me, it was too expensive at the time and was kind of aspirational. But apparently, many people, my friends at the time, loved it.
Okay, excellent. Germán, how about you?
Yeah, for me it was really impressive.
We can't hear you, Germán.
Now better?
Yeah, now it's good, yes.
Okay. That was really flat, really teeny, this mobile phone. That thing was I think was a really good gadget for that time. I thought it was 2008, could be 2009 on that. So I pretty well known this mobile phone. I never had it, but some friends of mine, yes.
Okay, excellent. José Luis, how about you? José Luis?
Was a good experience for me too. Thanks a lot.
Would you buy this phone again?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Because once was enough. I had a good experience, but I think it was enough for me. I want to try new things.
Okay, let's see if we are able to convince José Luis to purchase it back, not to change his mind. Anyway, that's interesting.
Y Oliveira dice que pagó 1.500 por el suyo en Brasil en el 97. Es que no puede levantar la mano.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Ampiluca, what was your experience?
¿Qué preguntabas, Nacho?
¿Y cuál es tu experiencia con el V3?
¿De cuál es mi experiencia con este?
Sí, pues,
No, yo no lo he usado en mi vida, es el que usa mi madre.
¿Y está contenta tu madre con él?
Le encanta, no quiere otro.
All right, that's interesting, okay? Anyway, it was a very, very popular phone. It was a kind of...
And if I want to interrupt now to give a second opinion on what she said, I just jump into the conversation.
All right, Luis.
And everybody listens and it works.
Yes, it does.
Very good. So we encourage, depends on your style, but if we want a live exchange, we encourage people to jump in. And we hope that the technical system will allow for it.
Yeah, technically, I think it's okay, José Luis, as you can see here. And the key thing is, how do you want to manage the class? No, probably, in my recommendation, José Luis, try it out and see what works for you. No? Sometimes it could be okay. Sometimes it might not be the case. No? So definitely yes. Okay. So now let me introduce you a new phone. No? Because actually, what Motorola realized, no, there's a kind of retro trend today. So mobiles that were very appreciated many years ago, okay, are coming back, okay, and that's actually what Motorola did. Let me share with you a video about the product that the Motorola actually introduced, the new V3. As I told you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a video. So what I have to do, I have to go to both options, and have to go ahead. Now I check it. No, I'm sorry.
They don't make up like me no more. One thing I know for sure, they don't make up like me no more. Shining like like a supernova. Brand new code hanging on my shoulders. I got what you need, I'm your main controller. So hop right in and don't take it slower. Get on up to my cloud, ain't nobody here.
Ignacio, I have a question.
Something went wrong. I've been kicked out.
Enough, don't fit the box, don't fit the mold, cause you know I just tear it up. They don't make them like me no more. They don't make them like me no more. Make them like me no more.
You have two options. What I usually do, it works other times, is I include the presentation in the PowerPoint. Alternatively, okay, seems to be safer option, you include it in the browser. So other thing I could do is I launch this from the browser.
Yes, it's the way it works. Otherwise, it doesn't work most of the time. If you include the video in the presentation, 99% of the cases doesn't work. So you have to have it selected on the browser.
Okay. So anyway, it didn't work.
Ignacio, can I ask you something?
Please go ahead.
Yes, my question was also related to Teresa's comment. So if we, because I used to basically embed as a multimedia link in my PowerPoint this kind of video YouTube document. So that means that in the future, as long as I want to play that video, I have to tick and untick, click and unclick, basically in this menu.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to. You have to.
Okay.
Because if not, I mean, right now we are done, no? So I should be doing this, you see? But yeah, that's a thing.
Once you play it, you come back to this menu and you unclick.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Anyway, let's move on, okay, with the presentation. Okay. Let's suppose, okay, you have just finished one of our flagship programs. You have finished the Global Online MBA, right? You've been very, very successful. Let's suppose you've been appointed as the new CEO of Motorola Spain, okay? And basically, your first challenge is to decide on the commercialization of this new phone, right? It's been launched in the US, it's been successful, again, and your first challenge is basically to decide on these four things, okay? The first thing is basically thinking about the marketing objectives, and what should we attain? The second thing is about the positioning. The third thing would be deciding on the go-to-market, how we're going to commercialize. And the last thing is how we're going to control, choosing the right KPIs, the right key performance indicators. No? So let me start with the first one, which is the marketing objectives. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, okay, as you can see, is I need to go to annotate. You see, you have down here a button that says annotate. Okay, so I click there. Okay, and now I can write. Okay, I'm going to use this pen. I could use the one I have in class. You choose the one you like. Okay, but as you can see, I put one white screen. Okay, and now I launch the question. Okay, if you think about this phone, what should be the marketing objectives? What would you say? By the way, if you're not going to speak, raise down your hand. Okay, because I see some hands raised. So, for instance, right now, Herman, your hand is raised. Pilar, the same. Look at the same for you. Alfonso, the same for you. That could tell me that you want to participate. I guess this is not the case. Okay, but just for you to know. So now, lower your hand if you want to speak. What would you say should be the main marketing objectives for this phone? What would you suggest? Anyway. Any volunteer? Okay. Antonio, go ahead.
In my opinion, I'm humble because in this room there is a lot of marketing talent. So please forgive me if I say something that you think is wrong. I think we should leverage on those that knew the original model, that like leverage on the old positioning of that mobile phone that can be kind of emotional link to it.
Okay, so something we may want to think about is we may want to think about targeting the old customers, not the existing customers that we had in the past, okay? And obviously we would put some numbers behind that. No, I want to get 80,000 old customers getting the phone again, something like that, no? That
yeah, like to rely on those customers
Yeah.
first land into the market, and then if the product is as successful as it could be, or as it was in the past, in the original model, they will eventually recommend to other potential customers, and then. But I think this should be the first approach. I mean, I don't have the market share of mobile phones in Spain, and I don't know the industry, but
okay. So
my marketing instinct will guide me that way.
Okay, so one approach, okay, that Antonio is suggesting is, okay, let's start with the low-hanging fruit, which could be customers that we have in the past. Okay, that's why I actually asked the question before. And then in a second phase, what we can think about is once the product is positioned, we can go for new customers. Okay, makes sense. Any
Okay,
other thoughts?
I jump in without raising my hand.
Okay, Luis, go ahead.
Only to check the interaction, and I take the opportunity to ask a question. So, you expect the student to be watching now your whiteboard with your notes. That's the main screen, right?
Yes.
Then a small window with the classroom to see you physically, full body, and then the little windows with all the rest of the students. That's what the student should have on his screen, right?
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, because maybe I should have explained before. So as you can see, we have two main screens, okay? On one screen, what I'm projecting is what I'm sharing, okay, which is usually the PowerPoint or the whiteboard, okay, which is where I'm writing down. And on this other screen, what we have is the deck with everybody who is connected, okay? I can see the image of all of you. That's basically what we can do. So people in the class actually is looking for both of them. Alejandro, you're raising your hand, I think.
Yes, I have a question. Are you sharing your, have you your PC connected, or are you using the classroom PC?
I'm using both, actually. Okay, so what I did in this case is I connected twice. Okay, so I connected into the classroom with my login and password. Okay. And then what I did is to use the tablet, okay, and I connected through my tablet with the same user, okay? So you can use your user to connect twice.
All right, but you are projecting from the PC.
And in this case, I'm projecting from the main one.
All right, so you just use the tablet to see the people that are connected online.
Exactly, but you can do it, again, in previous classes, actually what I did is to share from the tablet, okay? Whatever it works for you, you can do both. Probably, I would say it's easier if you use this for sharing rather than the tablet. Okay? You just limit the tablet for checking who's raising the hand. But again, that's something you may want to explore. From my experience, this is probably easier than the other one.
Sorry, may I ask a question? I can't raise my hand somehow. The hand raise doesn't appear. How are you writing on the white screen? Are you using our tablet or are you?
No, I'm just, look, I don't know if you can see, but well, this is the screen. At the bottom, there is something, a button that says annotate. You just click there, and probably you don't see, but you can see me pointing something in the screen, right?
Yes, I can see you pointing.
That's annotate, so I click there, and then I directly, sorry. I have to erase, okay? So look, how do I erase? I go to annotate, and there's a button that says clear. Okay, I do, well, clear all drawings, and it's done. That's something you have to check.
Okay, good. Okay, annotation, the annotation.
Okay, the main thing today is probably that you understand the dynamic. So as you can see, what I'm doing is I go to the screen. In this case, I design, okay, a white screen, so I know I need some space for writing. And when I'm done, suppose we are done with this question, what I do is I go to clear all drawings. I close this, and then I can move on. Okay?
Okay, thanks.
You cannot accumulate several screens of notes.
No,
Whatever you erase, that's it. You write, you erase, you write, you erase.
Yes.
You cannot.
No, but se puede entender que se pueden tener tantos PowerPoint como se quiera.
I mean, you can have several PowerPoints. If you want to keep it simple, though, what they would recommend is delete. Once you're done, you delete. You find your way. There are different ways you can do it. Okay? That's why I'm telling you it's so important that you go to the demo class and you try this out by yourself. Okay? Antonio, your hand is raised. I don't know if you want to say something. You just forgot to.
Sorry, I forgot it. Sorry.
No, these are small things. Okay, I'm sorry to pick you up, Antonio. But again, you have to be very strict with these things because if not, it's very hard to manage the class. No. I know. I see Alejandro raising his physical hand.
Yes. I'm very analogic for the hand thing. Just a quick question. How do you make the reservation to go to the demo room?
Daisy, I don't remember well, there's a website for faculty, okay, where you have all the training.
I will send you the information, Alejandro. I will put here.
Yeah, put it in the chat.
There is,
Daisy,
yeah.
If that's okay.
I will do that.
There. Okay, that website is like the Holy Grail. So you have all the information about how to teach, different methodologies, etc. And also you have a space where you can reserve, okay, some time to go to the demo class.
Great, thank you.
All right. Okay. Anyway, let's continue with the discussion. We can think about the objectives. The objectives could be about number of customers, can be referred to number of devices we want to sell. We may also want to think about a positioning objective. Okay, we may also want to think about, I don't know, penetration. I mean, how many points of distribution do we want to get? Okay, that's something we should think about. Another thing we can think about, okay, is basically the target group. You know, so we have thought about the marketing objectives. Another thing we can think about is, okay, who am I going to sell this to? Okay, and in this case, for instance, Antonio referred to the old existing customers. Okay, and you can think about the new ones, no? So you write it down, blah blah blah, whatever it is, okay, and you go through that. No? Who's painting here? Anyone?
No, teóricamente no puede pintar nadie.
Okay. These things happen sometimes, okay? So you don't have to get annoyed with that. You just have to keep it with the flow, okay? And another question you may want to ask, okay, for this phone is, who are you competing with? Who would you say you're competing with? If you're launching,
hola, ¿qué tal?
Who are you competing with? Who's the main?
Liquid.
Jesus?
No.
Okay. This is very important what's happening now. So you have people in class, okay, who's not muted, and actually they're speaking. What you can do, that's the beauty about this, is you can mute all. And you have a button here, you just mute all.
Now you have to mute yourself.
I cannot hear. Nacho.
We can't hear you, Nacho.
Nacho, no te oímos.
Nacho.
Nacho,
We're mute yourself. Pierre, do you want to speak up?
Yeah, you were muted. I mean, you muted yourself too, so we couldn't hear you. Now we can.
Yeah, yes, yes. I think that we are competing. Basically, main key competitors are basically vintage position manufacturers.
You have to speak louder, Pierre. We can't hear you.
The key competitors we are basically fighting against could be like vintage devices manufacturers.
Yeah. Okay. Why do you think that's the case?
Because I think that I mean, people who are kind of newcomers, heavy users are not going to use that phone. So we need basically to go back and stick to the ones that have like an emotional link with that product and device.
Okay. Thank you. Antonio, what do you think?
Well, I think that by the way you have conducted the case, I think those expensive phones, like top categories of or top products of Samsung and Apple, will be eventually our competition, because I'm guessing that this is going to be a niche and expensive phone. So I'm guessing that we are competing with those expensive ones.
Okay. And then I could go on, no? I could go on. Actually, I could share with you, you're right, the different phones you have. Okay, so let me explain to you a little bit what's going on in this price range. Basically, you can find two kind of different phones. Okay, you can have what's called the phablets. Phablets are phones that are very, very big. In this case, you fold them, right? You just unfold them. It's very, very big. So it could be like 2 iPhones together. Okay, so it could be like this phone being open. Okay, that's one product you may have. And you have products from Samsung and from Huawei, as you can see, very, very expensive products. And then you have something similar to what we have, okay, which is foldable but small, right? It could be like the old B3. In this case, we open it up and we have a full screen. That's basically what we're gonna find out here. No? So this would be direct competition we may want to think about, okay? Another thing we have to think about is basically what are the points of parity and points of difference, okay? Well, you may don't know what's the concept. Okay, so something you could do, and this, by the way, something we are developing at IE. Okay, we're coming with a lot of what we call learning assets. Okay, you will get them probably by January. I mean, some of them are already developed. Okay, but we're going to do a full deployment by January. Okay, so you're going to have videos, exercises, etc., that you can incorporate. So this is a video. In the case of marketing, we have, there's how many? 200 videos produced.
400.
Okay, so 400 videos produced. They're coming from the MOOCs that we develop because we run the marketing specialization. But take a look at that. Now we have a lot of materials, okay, that you can reuse, you can incorporate in this format, and it's going to help you a lot. Okay, so for instance, in this case, I'm going to share with you a video. Again, I have to click on both to make sure it works. Okay, and this is just something again that is being produced. It's being produced for more materials that I have. Okay, and in this case, what I do is I share with you in a visual way how
our offering is complying and satisfying with those wishes and needs. And obviously, in order to complete the analysis, we have to move into our competitors, which are going to be represented by this third circle. So again, we're going to go back to those customers and we're going to ask them about the competitors until what's the offering that we have from there.
It's going to enrich. And the key point, okay, because I don't think we can respond yet to that question. I launched the question before in advance. The key question should be this, right? Before we discuss who we are competing with, probably we have to reflect about this. What are we really selling? What would you say we are selling? I mean, why are people going to spend 1,500 euros or more in a smartphone? What are they looking for? What would you say? Is it just a device or is it something else? Okay, I see 2 hands raised.
Sorry, I can't raise my hand, but it seems to me that what they're looking for, it reminds me of the BlackBerry versus the iPhone. That the BlackBerry was a corporate product and the iPhone was a user everyday product.
Okay.
So if you're going to target something like that, you would have to make it somehow seductive to companies to incorporate it as like a business kind of cool thing to have.
Okay, so that's a discussion we made. Sorry, put yourself on mute. Okay, so that's a discussion we may want to have, right? Are we going to target the corporate market or the consumer market? In this case, I would say it's more the consumer market than the corporate market. The iPhone was very interesting because you're right. I mean, quite a few people from the corporate world actually got the phone. I have an interesting story. I used to work for many years at Vodafone. And the first thing I tried to do was to try to get my father renewing his phone. And I promise you, I offered him like 10 devices, including the V3. There was no way my father would switch from his old Nokia. At some point, we got the distribution of the iPhone in Spain. It took us some time to get it, but we got it. I did my job and I got an iPhone for myself. And guess what happened when my father saw it? After 5 years, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm following.
Yeah. No, so after 5 years of trying to switch my father to a phone, he just saw the iPhone and he said, I want that phone. Why do you think my father wanted the phone? Why did he change his mind? What was unique about the iPhone, which could work out here? Any guess?
Exclusivity or being aspirational, maybe?
It's completely aspirational. I mean, do you think, let me put it this way, that my father cared about the functionality of the iPhone or the processor of the iPhone? Definitely not, right? He was looking for some kind of exclusivity or image, etc. So probably that's what we should be thinking about here, right? Probably what's cool about this phone is not so much the functionality or the design, which has to be very good, right? If you're paying a very high price, you need to make sure that the quality is good enough. You don't have the latest screen, latest technology, but that's a point of parity. What's going to make a difference for you? Probably in this case, if you're able to be perceived as something cool, you know, the nice thing to have, right? Because probably that's what you're going to try to do. What should be cool here is not the iPhone. Okay? It should be the new product we are having. Okay, and probably yes, people like Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay, probably are going to take on this phone, and also people based on personality. You know, so people that want to look like cool. Okay, these are people that probably could get the phone. Okay, so if we review what we said before, do the old customers fit into this? Well, that's something we may want to check. And again, we may have a discussion or different approaches. No, that's the beauty about marketing. We don't have to stick to one proposal. That's something we could do. Another thing we can think about, okay, is once we are clear, okay, we want to go for cool people, okay, and that's the kind of difference we want to make. Okay, it's not so much about the phone, it's about the image you are projecting. We may want to discuss about what do we want to do in terms of go-to-market. So, question for you. Again, I go to annotate. If we want to think about the commercialization of this phone in Spain, what should we look into? What's relevant? What would you suggest? Teresa, may I pick up on you? I want to make sure that everybody can listen, ¿no?
No, sí, el problema es que no estoy oyendo, entonces no.
So in terms of go-to-market, Teresa, when we think about a smartphone like this, what could work, or which kind of
Look at the competitors.
Okay, we may want to think about competition, yes. You have to write down probably more slowly than you could do in real life, as you can see, yes?
Yeah. Customers and
okay, we may want to think about customers.
Capital letters.
Yeah, and you have to reduce.
No,
you have to use probably capital letters, yes. Yeah, I think it's better, no?
My experience is much better.
Yeah. Any other thought from someone connecting online? Pierre, your hand is raised.
Influencers?
Yes, we may want to think about, okay, who's going to help us to promote this? So yes, influencers going to be someone very critical here. Who else? I see more hands raised. Antonio.
I will say flag store.
Okay, flagship store, yes. Okay, we have to look for a nice place where we can display, no? And actually we may want to think about a launching event, no? Something to...
Yeah, absolutely.
To make some noise in the market, no? As you can see, okay, and that's an important thing, okay, about methodology. I cannot write as much as I could do in a regular class, okay? I have to be more selective about what I can write or not. And actually, my writing speed is slower. And again, these are things that you may want to consider. Okay, so we could continue the discussion. Okay, and again, more people raise a hand. Jose Luis?
Yes, the students can save the screens, right? With the notes that you are producing.
Yes. Yes, that's why we ask everybody, even the people in class, to connect to Zoom. Okay? Because what's going to happen, okay, even with two screens, there are some places in the class where people cannot see properly. But this is going to get worse, okay, because I'm just using one of them, not the other one. So probably people at the back are not going to be able to see. The good thing about this now, everybody can check, you know, on their screen what they're going to do, you know? Good. More questions or comments? No? Again, what they have to do is they have to clear all drawings. Okay, now they can move on. As you see, it requires a little bit of practice, no? And the reading is probably not the same one I would have in class. Work.
Nacho, dice Daisy que si escribes con el lápiz de la clase se ve mejor. Yo creo que también.
Sí, seguro.
Okay. Okay, and then, okay, probably in terms of commercialization, different things we have to look into is the product. Okay, so one decision we may want to take here is, okay, what shall we do? We have different models available in the US. We may have 5, 6 different configurations. So that's something we may want to think about. Do we go for the 6 of them? Probably it's too much. Okay, so we may want to select 1 or 2. We may also want to take a look at the packaging. Do we use the regular packaging? Do we have some to make some adaptations, etc.? Another big decision would be around the price. You know, what should be the right price that we go with this phone for, right? In this case, let me share with you, they went for a price of 1,500 euros. Okay, which was lower than the Samsung, but it's still higher than the Apple. And then another question we may have is about distribution, right? And again, as you can see, what I'm doing here is I have different colors. So I go to screen, and then I launch the poll, no? In this case, if you think about distribution for this one, would you go for an open distribution? I mean, you would sell throughout everybody willing to take on the phone, or do we go only through telecom companies, Telefonica, Vodafone, etc.? Or do we think only about Telefonica? You are going to try to give them an exclusivity, FNAC, El Corte Inglés? Or do we look for exclusive distributors? Or do we go direct to consumer? You're going to sell directly through the website. What would you say? Okay. Votes. Now you can see the results. Okay, so most of you thought about Telefonica, FNAC, or El Corte Inglés, as you can see, or exclusive distributors. Can I get some opinions about this? Who voted for Telefonica, FNAC, or El Corte Inglés? Raise your hand, please. Again, you need people to get fluent with the tool, okay? And probably what's going to happen is at some point students know very, very well, no? But anyway, let me pick up on someone. Antonio, what would you say? And Jose Luis after Antonio.
I propose Telefonica, FNAC, and El Corte Inglés. I think it's to be kind of, I will say, selective, but not too exclusive, because if you know, in my opinion, if it's like very, very difficult to get it, then you may lose some business opportunities due to it's too exclusive. So even though we are going for this top segment or niche, I will balance something between selective but not too exclusive in order to make it affordable, because at the very end, many people get crazy with these devices. So we may lose traction in the market, but making it too difficult to get the device.
All right, thank you. Jose Luis, what do you think?
I had my hand raised by mistake. I'm sorry, I have not.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. But anyway, let me make some points here. You have to be very strict with this kind of things, no? And probably, I mean, students get distracted, and well, you need to be very strict because it basically kills the flow of the class, no? So again, make sure that students are really in class, no? And try to minimize these things. Alejandro, you raise your physical hand.
Yes, I did. But Antonio said many of the things I was going to say. But basically, I think that if you put it through that channel, it gets to many customers. But at the same time, you're giving it a sense of exclusivity. I mean, if you think of the iPhone, when Apple landed in Spain, what they did was sell it using these distributors. I mean, they used Telefonica, and it was only for customers from Telefonica, and it was very expensive. So I think that's a good channel to reach many people, but at the same time, give you a sense of exclusivity. So basically what Antonio said.
Okay, let me share with you something which is happening here in the physical class. Your voice, the tone of your voice is very low. Okay, so probably not everybody in class could hear you. If this happens to you, okay, it happens both sides, right? It can happen when people are speaking over Zoom or people in class to the rest of the class. Now, if that's the case, okay, what you have to do is you have to repeat what the student said. Okay, so in this case, I might say that, well, thank you for that, blah, blah, blah. But you have to check these kind of things, no? So again, it requires some adaptation here. Anyway, thank you for that, Alejandro. Again, then we could move on, no? Also, we could think about promotion, you know, what we're gonna do in terms of communication, and we spoke about different options that we have here, right? And also we may want to think about a branding campaign, right? Do we need a branding campaign? Do we have enough brands as a Motorola? Do we have to do something in terms of branding, no? Another piece we may want to think about is customer experience. And also we might, yeah, you raise your hand, go ahead.
Ignacio, sorry to interrupt. Given that we have had already many people coming from the chat asking you questions, and that you are not clearly seeing in real time, is there a way in that screen to have like 3 sections? One with the chat, the other one with the images, and then the full screen, which is your presentation?
I mean, you could do it, yes. And that's why I think you need to be very, very clear at the beginning of the class. In this case, for instance, I said, I don't want any questions in the chat. Okay, well, I'm not going to take the questions in the chat. And I'm not doing that because based on my experience, it's very, very difficult to manage everything. Okay, again, it's really up to you. But I can tell you that it requires a lot of, I mean, you're going to use a lot of energy trying to balance things, making sure that the technical stuff is working fine. The chat is going to be distracting you. Anyway, going back to your question, yes, you could use different screens. Okay, I can connect with another user with the laptop, okay, and see the chat there. Or what I could do is here, you can configure as well the chat, okay? My recommendation, if you want to follow the chat, ask someone in the class to help you with that. Okay, that would be my recommendation. Again, try it out and see what works for what works for you, no?
Too many things.
I think it's too many things.
Juggling with too many balls, the
Yeah,
screen,
yeah.
and then like.
But again, based on my experience, because for instance, at the very beginning, what I did in my first classes was to follow the chat or try to follow the chat. At some point, I realized that, yeah, I could manage, but I lost the flow of the class. I got too many distractions, right? I don't think you don't need that. I mean, in a physical class, what you could do is you ask people to raise their hand. That would be my suggestion. But again, it's really up to you. Okay, I'm showing in this case what works for me.
Thank you then.
Anyway, we could discuss also the KPIs, okay, but also something that we can do, okay, when, well, of course, at the end of the class, you're going to ask me what happened in real life. But one of the, I mean, the beauty about this methodology is extremely flexible. Okay, so for instance, in this case, it could be great, no? If we could get the general manager from Motorola telling us what happened in real life, no? In this case, I have to share with you that the general manager of Motorola is Carolina, who just connected. She's a friend of mine. Actually, we got inspired about this case in a lunch with drinks, right? She told me the story, and that's how she inspired me. And I invited Carolina to join us. Carolina, if you can turn on your camera. There you go. Thank you so much for joining. So Carolina is the general manager of Motorola Spain, and Carolina is going to share with us what happened in real life.
Hi, how are you?
Which is going to be very, very interesting. My point is you can enrich the class a lot. No, and probably what we would do in real life, Carolina, would you come to IE, spend 2 hours, blah, blah? Probably not. She's extremely busy. But if you tell Carolina, can you join for 10 minutes at 11? As you can see, it's 11. Okay, and share with us, maybe that's feasible. Anyway, Carolina, thank you so much for joining us. The class is yours. English or Spanish, whatever you feel like.
Ok, muchas gracias. Buenos días a todos. Nacho, primero que todo, gracias por invitarme a la clase. Les cuento sobre mí. Yo soy Carolina Prieto, llevo desde septiembre del 2019 en España. Soy la gerente general para Motorola Iberia, básicamente España y Portugal, pero llevo 9 años y medio en Motorola. Fui gerente general de Colombia y Ecuador por 9 años y cuando empecé digamos que mi rol en Colombia teníamos solo 2% de market share. Cuando terminé mi gestión terminamos con un 22% de market share. Y tuve básicamente la fortuna de que me tocara lanzar el Razer en España. Creo que fue espectacular poder lanzar un equipo que tiene lo mejor de los dos mundos, que es básicamente un diseño súper compacto con una cantidad, digamos, de materiales espectaculares y con una pantalla plegable. O sea, fuimos el primer fabricante que lanzamos un teléfono plegable al mercado de esas especificaciones y también contarle al consumidor español que Motorola existe. Cuando conocí a Ignacio, lo primero que me dijo es que si Motorola existía en Europa y esa es una de las razones por las cuales estoy acá. Tenemos el gran reto de que la marca vuelva a existir en el mercado. Hoy tenemos menos de un 1% de participación y es una de las principales áreas de crecimiento. Motorola en Latinoamérica es muy fuerte, tenemos el 23% de mercado y somos el segundo jugador en la industria. Con respecto a Razer, lanzar el equipo fue espectacular. Digamos que el primer anuncio se hizo el 13 de noviembre en un evento global que tuvimos en Los Ángeles, donde tuvimos casi 210 asistentes y tuvimos básicamente un share of voice casi del 50% a nivel mundial. Las impresiones fueron una locura, tuvimos 9 billones de impresiones en el mundo y nosotros como Europa hicimos un segundo lanzamiento en Londres el 18 de noviembre. Tuvimos 120 asistentes, digamos que journalists de 120 países y tuvimos 3.5 billones de impresiones. Las búsquedas se triplicaron en el mundo porque obviamente estábamos lanzando un producto icónico que seguramente muchos de ustedes tuvieron en sus manos. En términos de ejecución en España fue un lanzamiento perfecto, digamos, en términos de la campaña de mercadeo, digamos, después de haber lanzado el producto a nivel global, tuvimos un evento local con periodistas el 31 de enero, donde también se triplicaron, digamos, las búsquedas y tuvimos casi 200.000 personas pues viendo, digamos, que todos los videos de YouTube. O sea, fue muy bueno el lanzamiento, pero no contamos con la suerte, digamos que, no sé si ustedes se acuerdan, pero en febrero el producto, digamos que los canales los llenamos, el 15 de febrero teníamos todos los productos, teníamos el producto disponible en nuestros principales partners. Vendimos en el Corte Inglés, en Telefónica, en Orange, y básicamente el 15 de febrero cuando despachamos el producto a las 2 semanas ya no teníamos inventario, pero una de las principales fábricas de Motorola quedan en Wuhan, y básicamente es ahí cuando empieza el tema del coronavirus y no podemos seguir despachando producto a nuestros partners de negocio. Básicamente, no sé si ustedes saben, pero el 31 de enero es año chino, las festividades del nuevo año chino. No volvieron los trabajadores a las fábricas y las fábricas se abren hasta el 16 de marzo. Y obviamente el 16 de marzo estábamos todos confinados, entonces digamos que tuvimos un mal timing. Pero digamos lo importante es que pudimos hacer negocios con partners que no hacíamos negocios hace 6 años como Telefónica y el Corte Inglés. Tuvimos la máxima visibilidad de nuestros partners en e-commerce y en out of home. Tuvimos básicamente visibilidad en Gran Vía que no habíamos tenido desde hace mucho tiempo y empezó la marca a resurgir en España.
Muy bien, muchísimas gracias, Carolina. Pues muy mala suerte, ¿no? Es un ejemplo básicamente de planificación perfecta, incluso ser imperfecto, como nos ha contado Carolina, y como nos ha contado también, pues, bueno, pues, mala suerte justo que coincide con el coronavirus, fábrica en Wuhan, básicamente ruptura de stock y básicamente cuando ya podían reabastecer producto, pues lógicamente ya estábamos en mitad de la pandemia, ¿no? Muy interesante. No sé si alguien tiene alguna pregunta para Carolina, algo que le queráis preguntar.
Sí, yo tengo una pregunta, Nacho, si me permites.
Por favor.
Bueno, primero de todo, muchas gracias, Carolina. Yo creo que es un placer para nosotros y un privilegio, como hablo por la parte de profesor de marketing, pues tener tu intervención aquí, ¿no?
Gracias.
Yo te quería preguntar un poco, bueno, que habéis, digamos, manejado esta situación, has explicado cómo os ha impactado. ¿Cuál es un poco ahora, hasta donde puedas contar, por supuesto, ¿no? La manera de intentar volver a la nueva normalidad con este producto, sobre todo cuando tenéis una fábrica bueno, pues en la zona cero del virus, ¿no? Porque en tema de gestión de proyectos me parece un gran desafío y quería aprovechar para hacerte esta pregunta, por supuesto, hasta donde puedas contar. Gracias.
Mira, mucho gusto. Digamos que hoy la fábrica se ha restablecido, o sea, digamos que a la fecha hoy no tenemos ningún problema de supply. Digamos que para Motorola ha sido difícil porque tuvimos, digamos que hoy la demanda que tenemos del producto en términos de materiales ha sido, o sea, tenemos exceso hoy de materiales. Entonces, obviamente digamos que uno de los temas que aprendimos es que se está desarrollando mucho el tema online. Entonces estamos haciendo campañas dirigidas a clientes, digamos, de Telefónica. Hemos tenido un muy buen desempeño en la parte de B2B y la parte online ha funcionado bastante bien. Digamos que el consumidor que busca un Razer, pues realmente tiene un top of heart impresionante con el producto y lo está buscando. Entonces seguimos trabajando de la mano con nuestros consumidores para no desaparecernos del mercado y seguir prendiendo campañas online. Con respecto digamos que al tema de la demanda y de la producción de teléfonos, no tenemos hoy problema, pero la compañía sí está viendo alternativas de dónde producir productos en otros territorios y está evaluando, digamos, India como una posible, digamos, ubicación de nuevas fábricas para suplir demanda.
Muy bien, muchas gracias, Carolina.
No, con mucho gusto. Si tienes alguna otra pregunta.
Deja a mis compañeros, o a Nacho, que pregunten. Gracias.
¿Alguna pregunta más para Carolina? ¿Algo que queráis preguntarla? Bueno, pues muchísimas gracias, Carolina.
A ti, Nacho, por la invitación. Un gusto conocerlos.
Hasta pronto, hablamos.
Bye.
Bueno, como podéis ver, enriquece muchísimo. Carolina, quédate si quieres, encantados. Muchísimas gracias de nuevo. Pero como podéis ver, muy fácil. Haces una interacción, invitas a un speaker, conectas la hora, básicamente te enriquece muchísimo la discusión y creo que te da un punto muy, muy positivo, que algo que probablemente en una clase presencial normal no pudiéramos hacer. Además, me sirve muy bien. Lógicamente, había hablado con ella previamente un poco lo que nos iba a contar, pero nos sirve para reforzar dos puntos muy importantes, ¿no? Primero, la importancia de conectar con otras áreas, como he explicado al final, ¿no? Todo el tema de supply chain management, producción, etcétera, por lo cual marketing no puede quedarse en el departamento de marketing, que es un mensaje importantísimo. Segundo mensaje muy importante es, bueno, tenemos que desarrollar otra serie de competencias, como es todo acá, por ejemplo, todo lo que es la agilidad, ¿no? ¿Qué hago frente a una situación completamente inesperada como la que estamos teniendo, ¿no? Eso sería otro punto que podríamos ver. En cualquier caso, como podéis ver, enriquezco la discusión y ya directamente lo que hago finalmente es, me meto en toda la parte de conclusiones, ¿no? Que la parte de conclusiones sería simplemente explicar pues, lo que hemos hecho básicamente, que es explicar que tú cuando haces un producto tienes que definir muy bien quién es tu público objetivo, tienes que entender muy bien qué es lo que vendes. En base a eso tienes que crear tu propuesta de valor, que es producto, precio, promoción, distribución. Tienes que ver también cómo se refleja esto en la marca, trabajar un poco la experiencia de cliente, ver un poco cómo es tu modelo de negocio y cómo encaja con todo ello. Y luego, lógicamente, hay un tema que es go to market, que es un poco lo que hemos hablado, y toda la parte de KPIs, ¿no? Y ahora, lo que he añadido finalmente, en base a lo que nos ha aportado Carolina, es, bueno, no es suficiente con la planificación, hay que desarrollar competencias para ser muy ágiles, porque en cualquier momento va a salir un black swan, un cisne negro, como es el caso en este caso del coronavirus, y te va a desmontar todo de arriba abajo. Y con esto termino. La idea, como os decía, el objetivo de esta sesión era, sobre todo, poder entender muy bien la dinámica del hybrid classroom. Como podéis ver, hay muchos cambios que hacer con respecto a una clase presencial, una clase online. Requiere muchísima práctica. Yo mismo estoy todavía aprendiendo mucho, como podéis ver. Pero bueno, creo que es un formato diferente. Creo que tiene ventajas, tiene inconvenientes. Simplemente tenemos que probar. Y al respecto os doy un mensaje extremadamente importante. Nosotros desde programas estamos, pues, lógicamente, recogiendo todas las incidencias, recogiendo todos los aprendizajes, pero nos es muy, muy importante que nos digáis, o sea, que estemos en contacto contigo, ¿no? No sé si a través de claustro o preferís hacerlo a través de programas, lo que sea, pero es muy importante que nos llegue la información. Quiere decir, lo que está funcionando, lo que no está funcionando, cosas que pensáis que debamos de probar, etcétera. Esto, si queréis, estamos en formato MVP, lo hemos lanzado, el producto funciona, el producto se tiene que rodar bastante. Entonces, esta de hecho no es la configuración final, estamos trabajando en configuraciones más avanzadas, pero yo creo que el gran desafío, más que tecnológico o de equipamiento, si queréis, es de pedagogía o metodología. Entonces, en este sentido, lógicamente es un tema, yo creo que de esfuerzo colectivo, aprendizaje colectivo. Entonces, aparte de insistiros muchísimo con todo el tema de formación y que vayáis a esa clase demo y lo probéis, por favor, decirnos, ¿no? Continuamente, mira, esto me ha funcionado, esto no ha funcionado, me gustaría poder probar esto. O sea, todo lo que veáis, por favor, hacérnoslo saber, porque lo vamos a recopilar, lo vamos a transmitir. Creo que es la forma de que podamos acelerar todo lo que es la curva de aprendizaje. Dicho lo cual, no sé si hay alguna pregunta de alguien. Veo, José Luis, tu mano levantada.
Sí, yo más que pregunta quería agradecerte la clase, que me ha parecido buenísima y práctica. lo que un poco terrorífico también al mismo tiempo, porque las posibilidades son muchas, pero también hay muchas posibilidades de que la cosa se complique, ¿no?
Sí.
Pero vamos, una clase estupenda que a mí me ha ilustrado bastante sobre cómo hacerlo. Voy a ir a los trainings presenciales estos.
Sí.
Y luego, para dudas específicas, ¿hay algún tipo de sitio o alguien que se ocupe de ir deshaciendo pequeñas dudas o cosas que quieres aprender a hacer o cosas así?
Vale, dos cosas, ¿vale? Déjame comentar algo que has dicho que me parece muy importante, ¿no? Esto es como manejar un smartphone, ¿no? Aprovechando un poco la clase. Sabéis que normalmente usamos aprovechando un 15% de las funciones de un smartphone. Entonces, ¿tenemos que manejar el 100% para que funcione bien el smartphone? No. Yo creo que es muy importante que busquéis como vuestro punto de equilibrio y yo, en caso de duda, mantener la clase simple, usar 4 cosas que os funcionen bien y con las que os sintáis cómodos. O sea, yo creo que no es necesario meter Kahoots, meter todo, no. Buscar un formato que os parezca como sencillo y con el que estéis cómodos. Y esto efectivamente es un tema de prueba y error. Y a tu pregunta, creo que la mejor persona para responderlo es Daisy, no sé si Daisy no está conectada. No lo tengo claro, José Luis, yo creo que es a través de Faculty el mejor conducto para plantear dudas, ¿vale?
Hay gente del aula.
Sí.
Nacho.
En el aula práctica, o sea, en el
Nacho.
Sí, un segundo. En el aula práctica vas a tener...
Nacho, yo creo...
Sí, un segundo, Piroca. Lo que iba a decir es, en el aula práctica vas a tener gente que te va a poder ayudar con la parte técnica. Entonces, yo creo que el 90% de las dudas no van a ser técnicas, van a ser de impartición. Entonces, como son preguntas que te tiene que resolver un profesor, mi recomendación sería canalizarlas a través de Claustro, vuestro director de área. Dirían más bien Claustro o sea, Isabel Sánchez o Daisy Escobar os diría en primer lugar y que ellas os canalicen, ¿no? Porque van a ser preguntas de metodología. Si son preguntas técnicas, la gente que está en el aula híbrida probablemente os la puede enseñar, ¿vale? Pero dudas más metodológicas las tiene que responder.
Tengo una segunda pregunta, porque veo que hay enorme riesgo de disfuncionalidades, ¿no? Desde que la mitad de la clase te dicen yo no oigo, hasta pues también un uso no muy ético de las posibilidades que ofrece esto, de no estar o de lo que sea. Entonces me pregunto si hay normas comunes que nos pudieran facilitar a los profesores, decir, mira, esto es así y es la política de la escuela. O sea,
la política de la casa es que esté cerrado a día de hoy, el alumno tiene que decir si va a venir o no al aula. ¿Vale? O sea, tú antes de que empieces tu curso te vamos a decir, mira, todos estos alumnos se espera que vengan al aula física. Y el alumno que te ha dicho que tiene que venir al aula física, tiene que venir. ¿Sabes? No está un poco a criterio del alumno si aparezco o no aparezco. ¿Vale? Y eso os lo vamos a dar. Luego se pueden gestionar excepciones, lógicamente, si el alumno está malo o no puede ir por algo urgente, te lo tiene que notificar. Pero eso es algo que básicamente lo vamos a hacer y lo vamos a obligar. El tema de que esté la cámara encendida, pues lo hemos comentado antes, se va a definir a nivel de programa. No está, para grado, por lo que dice Laura Rojo, está cerrado. Para el resto de programas no está cerrado. Probablemente vamos a hacerlo obligatorio, ¿no? Porque realmente es la única forma. No sé si quieres comentar algo más, Laura.
Sí, que se había comentado en alguno de los working groups, el de rediseño.
Estás muteada, digo, pues te tienen ahí.
Sí, ahí, sí. No me quité el se comentó en alguno de los trabajos que ha habido.
Porque estás hablando por el micro allí.
¿Me escucháis bien ahora? Ahora sí. Que se ha comentado en alguno de los grupos de trabajo del de rediseño de programas y demás, y aunque no se había como establecido así como ya con un mazazo y demás, yo creo que un poco el consenso de eso es obligar a tener el alumno en cámara. Creo que la única manera de conseguirlo es que sea súper consistente en todos los programas, o sea, institucionalizado en el IE. No veo que tenga que haber ninguna diferencia entre grado y máster en este sentido, y creo que además es como una petición súper lógica. Si tú estás en un programa, si estás siguiendo como alumno, un programa remotamente y online desde tu casa, lo básico es que tienes que estar conectado en todo momento en vídeo y en audio para estar en las mismas condiciones o con los mismos requisitos que está tu compañero, el otro alumno que está en el aula. Entonces, me parece como una cosa muy básica que podríamos decir ya casi ya. Que sea
Vamos a ver, o sea, temas cerrados, José Luis, a tu pregunta es, 1, asistencia a clases es obligatoria, punto número 1, o sea, no es opcional, exactamente igual. De hecho, alumno que no venga al 80% de las sesiones le puede suspender. 1. 2. El alumno tiene que decirte qué tipo de asistencia va a tener, si es presencial o online, y se tiene que ajustar a ella. Y 3, lo que te comenta Laura ahora, lo tenemos que cerrar. No está cerrado, probablemente lo cerraremos, es obligar al alumno a tener la cámara encendida, porque si no, efectivamente, se nos puede ir de las manos, ¿vale? Pero la idea es, en la medida de lo posible, verificarlo. Cuando digo que no está cerrado, es que no lo hemos consensuado, pues probablemente lo podemos consensuar de aquí a septiembre. ¿Vale? ¿Más preguntas? Sí.
Sí, mencionas la asistencia obligatoria. ¿Esto significa que hemos de pasar lista o directamente por el tema tecnológico de conexión, directamente por defecto se coge la asistencia?
A ver, lo que tú vas a poder ver como profesor es básicamente quién ha estado conectado al aula o no. O sea, lo puedes ver a posteriori. O sea, tú puedes volver a la grabación y podrías ver básicamente quién está y quién no está. Laura, no sé si lo queréis gestionar de alguna manera distinta en grado.
En cuanto a asistencia y participación.
Asistencia, sí.
Asistencia, sí. Claro, la política de asistencia y participación ya está establecida por programas y yo creo que al movernos al Liquid realmente cambia mucho menos de lo que algunos profesores piensan que cambia. Es decir, el porcentaje de ausencia permitido está establecido, ese 30% en grado, no sé cuánto de más, no ahora mismo, tal, y eso se mantiene, yo creo que se mantiene totalmente. El alumno no tiene
la pregunta es cómo controlar la asistencia.
¿Cómo controlar la asistencia? Se está haciendo, esto lo han presentado desde Learning Innovation. No sé cómo está ahora mismo a nivel técnico, esa es la cosa, nos lo presentaron hace unas semanas. Entonces se está haciendo una herramienta adyacente que va a poder medir automáticamente el que se conecta por Zoom, que deben ser todos los que están en casa y los que están en clase, y que traspase esos datos, digamos, de una base de datos a otra. Se está viendo cómo hacerlo informáticamente, pero va a haber una herramienta que le ayude al profesor a automatizar ese control de asistencia y que no sea exclusivamente si yo me hago login como alumno en la clase, porque me puedo hacer login y logout a los 2 minutos, sino que controle que yo me he hecho login como alumno y he estado conectado al menos al 85%-90% de tiempo de la sesión. Y eso es lo que me va a contar como presente, ¿no? Y esa herramienta ya está en funcionamiento y lo que se está valorando ahora es cómo se va a volcar esos datos a otra base de datos, pero no sé cómo está el...
O sea, en resumidas cuentas, la asistencia es obligatoria, eso lo hemos dicho antes, y lo que estamos trabajando es darnos algún tipo de herramienta para poderlo hacer de forma un poco más automatizada, ¿no? ¿Vale?
Vale, o sea, será automático. Gracias.
Bueno, estamos en ello, sí, esa es la idea.
Yo, Pierre, creo que lo más realista es estar esperando un poco cualquier posible escenario para arrancar el semestre porque se está desarrollando esa herramienta y realmente no sabemos a día de hoy el timing de cuándo va a estar totalmente lista, accesible para todos los profesores, etcétera, etcétera. Entonces yo creo que la intención es automatizarlo e intentar sí o sí arrancar el semestre con eso automatizado, pero a día de hoy realmente está pendiente. O sea que yo ya vamos a dejarlo un poco de la
Antonio, una última pregunta.
Muchas gracias.
Sí, bueno, yo hacer 2 breves comentarios. Primero, darte las gracias, Nacho, por compartir tu conocimiento y tu experiencia con nosotros una vez más. Y luego, 2 puntos, ¿no? Yo estoy muy de acuerdo con una cosa que has dicho al principio, que es lo de llegar antes y, bueno, pues conectarte, resolver todas esas incidencias técnicas, pues justo antes de empezar la clase, o al menos a mí me ha funcionado esa recomendación. Y luego, en relación con lo que preguntaba Pierre, bueno, y también lo que decía Laura, ¿no? Perdón, ¿era Laura o era Pilar? Ahora ya me he confundido de nombre. Laura Rojo, sí. Disculpad. Yo, como lo estoy haciendo ahora, bueno, celebro que se esté automatizando. Yo, como lo estoy haciendo ahora, estoy entrando en los dashboards de Zoom y me estoy descargando, o sea, te permite descargarte en Excel o en CSV quién ha estado conectado, cuánto tiempo y si entran y salen. Que es verdad que, como ha dicho Laura, pues es un poco manual, un poco tedioso, pero es la manera que tienes, o que yo he encontrado a día de hoy, de poder seguir la participación